Great to have you here this afternoon. Would you just introduce yourselves from left to right? And if you've got a book, hold it up and tell us a little bit about what you're writing about and thinking about now.
Hi, I'm Greg Creed. Oh, something dinged. Greg Creed, the retired CEO or former CEO, I'm not sure what the title is, of Yum. A colleague of mine, Ken, mentioned I wrote this book called Red Marketing, the 3 Ingredients for Leading Brands. And we wrote it because when you were running a business that I was with 140 countries and 3 brands and 50,000 restaurants, we did great marketing, we did pretty poor marketing, we did average. And so this was an attempt to create a framework at Yum. And then we decided it actually really works, so we should share it as part of giving back. So this is a framework to help marketers do better marketing, not just in the restaurant industry, but probably in marketing in general.
Please go ahead.
I'm Meredith Sandland, and I am the co-author of Delivering the Digital Restaurant, and used to work with Greg many moons ago at Taco Bell, and then left to go to the Google-backed Ghost Kitchen, Kitchen United, and there discovered that the world was changing quite a bit and that restaurants didn't necessarily understand all the ways in which it was changing. So my co-author and I, who met at Kitchen United, wrote this book to help restaurants understand all the different ways in which the omni-channel disruption is affecting restaurants and what that means for them.
And Zach, introduce yourself.
Zach Goldstein, founder and CEO of Thanx. I am the only helpless soul that has not written a book at this crew.
Not yet.
And not yet, thank you.
But you've read many, I'm sure.
I have read both of these multiple times, actually. Thanx is a CRM loyalty program, custom built for restaurants and retailers. We believe it is exactly tied to the things that these 2 brilliant authors have written about in their books, the digitization of the restaurant industry and the importance of need for personalization in driving repeat purchasing with guests. And so it is an honor to be with these 2, and I look forward to our event tonight and talking more about these books.
Now, we'll get to the event tonight, but I'd like to ask all 3 of you, how has the pandemic changed personalization and digitalization of the restaurant business? It certainly increased the pace of it, but what do you think will be the lasting impact if you had to name one? Start with you, Greg.
I would say it's accelerated trends that were going to happen anyway. So I think that what COVID did and what vaccination did and having to, have delivery drive-throughs, ghost kitchens and everything else, it just accelerated, I think, the trends that were going to occur. And so for me, the word out of the vaccination era is acceleration of trends that were going to happen. And I don't see us going backwards to the old ways. I see us, taking these new big leaps and changes and building on those to even further accelerate what's going to happen in the restaurant industry.
And Meredith, for you?
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. I think Bill Gates said that the COVID pandemic accelerated digital adoption by what would have taken 10 to 15 years in about 18 months, which is an incredible amount of acceleration. And on top of that, things went on for so long, right? We had it and then we didn't have it, we had it, we didn't have it. 2 years of this, that changes consumer behavior. It's very, very difficult to change consumer behavior, but once they establish a new pattern that they then repeat for 2 years, that's the new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And Zach, from the personalization end, what do you think the pandemic has left the consumer feeling in that area?
So one of the interesting things about this acceleration is that much of that digital adoption did not go directly to restaurants. It went to third parties. And this was a new wrinkle in what is a decades or hundreds of year-long relationship directly between the people making the food and the people consuming the food. Now, in many of those circumstances, there's someone in the middle. That is completely changing the game when it comes to building direct relationships with your guest. And even more important, your guest needs to know who you stand, what you stand for, who you are, and have the ability to go direct to that restaurant if they're going to build lifetime value, which comes from understanding digital channels and understanding the principles in red so that you can personalize that interaction to the guests who are really relevant for your brand.
The folks that you're meeting with tonight at your event, which is basically a book launch and informational gathering, as I understand. What do you think their biggest question in their mind is, the restaurant operators?
Why did someone like me who can't spell write a book? I think that's probably their biggest question. I'm still trying to answer that question because even I can look at myself in the mirror and go, the guy who, didn't even stand up in spelling bees in 4th grade actually wrote a book. So that may not be everyone's question, but it's certainly my family's question.
I'm very curious about it.
Well, I'm a terrible speller because you work with us. So
Well, I watch a lot of social media, so spelling is completely out the window at this point.
true.
I've read the book though, and everything is spelled correctly.
Yeah, because I had it spell checked 100.
You even got the first 3 letters.
We even got that's why it had to be called Red, because if it was any more complicated, I wouldn't be able to spell my own book. To answer your question, I think the question on their minds, well, there's a bunch of questions on their minds. It is, how do you build brands in a digital age? How do you get to know how do you know more about your existing customers? One of my favorite quotes for what is a brand is, brands are what people use to tell the world what matters to them. And so I think that we underestimate how important brands are to people. And then what we've got to do is now we've underestimated the digitalization of brands, and that you don't necessarily interact with brands in the old traditional way. So I think those are 2 things that really matter, which is brand building is still critically important, but how you build a brand has changed dramatically. And that's why I think these 2 books, in a funny way, written completely separately, are incredibly complementary, because one's about why you need to build a brand, and the other one is how you build a brand.
Yeah.
Is that a fair comment?
Well, I think there's a lot about how to build a brand here too. I think it's exactly well said that the importance of building a brand has never been greater, right? And in particular, when you're speaking through so many different channels, whether it be social media or television or however you're reaching your consumer, and you're taking orders through so many different channels, the need to really understand at your core who you are, to position consistently, has never been greater, because you're doing it in so many different places. And so I think foundationally, understanding how to create that, incredibly important, and then how to bring it to life in that digital environment, something that everyone in this age needs to know.
Complexity is something that I think a lot about, because running a restaurant has become much more complex, and it was already pretty complex, right? And so as you think about the number of ways people are consuming your food, their expectations for your brand, all of those things are changing, becoming much more multivariate. I think about all the letters in red, but often at Thanx, we think about ease of use. Yeah. And at the end of the day, in order to personalize your interactions between your guests and your brand, you have to use technology, and that technology has to simplify things, not make them more complex. That has been a problem in this industry for a long time, and it's one of the areas that we're really pushing to innovate through automations and through things that actually simplify the life of a marketer and of a consumer for a brand.
Because I'm the oldest person here by a long way. I grew up in the better beats better era. So Tide made it white, Whisk made it whiter, they made it white. How white can you make a white shirt? And I think what Zach said is very true, which is I think we're in the easy beats better era. And people are still trying to find that incremental differentiation versus distinctiveness. What they should be doing is making the whole experience easier, because no matter who you talk to, my brother-in-law flew back to Australia yesterday, and he was like, oh my God, the check-in was a nightmare. They just everybody wants it easy. And if the easy brand will win, people will go for easy over slightly better. Trust me.
What is the one thing a brand could do tomorrow to make it easier for the consumer?
Well, I think first of all, as Meredith said, a brand has to know what it stands for, because people want to know what brand stands for, what brands stand for these days. It's no longer, you can't just hide and, oh yeah, this is a brand, it doesn't mean every brand has to have a social purpose, but a brand's, what its values are have to be absolutely clear to me. I think it's a tough one, because some brands, if you use the 3 letters, there are brands that are incredibly relevant, they're just not distinctive. There are brands that are really distinctive, but they haven't made themselves relevant. I'm not sure the answer is if there's one answer. And in fact, the biggest challenge when you use the red framework is I've seen so many people who've got a very relevant brand that isn't distinctive. They keep focusing on relevance, and they push relevance and more relevance, and it's like, that's not the problem. Or they've got a brand that's very distinctive, but they haven't made it easy. So one of the first questions you've got to ask yourself is, which letter do I need to focus on? And for every brand, that answer is different.
Meredith, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I would like to see all restaurants make the easiest first party platform that they can. I think all restaurants right now are trying to figure out how to convert consumers from third party to first party platforms. And many of them are doing it by trying to buy love, right? They give away all kinds of discounts, all kinds of freebies. They come over to my channel and I'll give you all these things. And while wonderful, generally when you buy consumers love, it's not very staying. And so figuring out how to make that channel as good or better than third party, that easy piece.
Sticky.
That's what's going to make them come over. And if they get freebies on top of it, awesome. But step one is making sure that that first party channel is as easy or better than the third party.
I could not agree more. Freebies, discounts are not distinctive by definition. And in fact, there's a bigger problem with discounts being not distinctive. DoorDash and Uber Eats have far deeper marketing budgets than any restaurant will ever have. And so if you discount and they discount, they win.
Yeah.
This is a big push for us at Thanx, is redefining loyalty to be around lifetime value and about repeat purchasing that's driven from non-discount reward models, secret things that you can offer your customers, items and swag and experiences that DoorDash never will. That ultimately will be the future battleground of loyalty. And it's something that's been missed in the word loyalty, which has historically meant rote rewards and rote discounts. That's got to change for restaurants to succeed these days.
Zach, let's start with you. What's the most innovative thing you've seen a restaurant or a restaurant brand do to increase that loyalty or ease of use?
So I agree with what Meredith just said. I think it is absolutely critical that you offer your customers a remarkably easy experience to engage with your brand digitally and off premises, because the third-party delivery teams have hundreds of designers that have figured out how to make those experiences very easy. One of the mistakes we see brands is they overinvest in the distinctive piece. Yeah. They miss the fact that it's need to be easy. That works if you can do both. But if you're making a trade-off, easy beats better, as Greg has said, and that has never been more true in digital ordering.
Meredith, anything you'd like to add there?
Sure. I'm going to make a confession, which is that I'm a member of both the Starbucks and Chipotle loyalty programs, and I have never once.
Seriously?
I'm so sorry. I have never once.
Okay, that's it.
I never once redeemed a loyalty point from either company. I don't actually even know how. The reason I use the apps is because it's so easy to order something. That's what's valuable to me. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I think that just goes to show you the absolute power of making something super easy to get.
Would you mind transferring your points to me?
Yeah, I probably have a big balance.
Look, I think the other thing is, yeah, when I ran Taco Bell, which was a long time ago, you know, my joke was, you know, if you've ordered 10 tacos, you probably don't need an 11th for free, right? And what we have to understand also is whatever we're selling, whatever we're promoting, whatever we're doing is a tiny fraction of a person's life. And so, for example, when I was running Taco Bell, we found out that things like rechargeable phone cards were really important. And a lot of people who shopped at Taco Bell, you know, so not just having 11th taco, but if we gave you a reward where your T-Mobile phone got another $5 on it, that as a reward was much more endearing and sticky than just an 11th taco. And some of the things we also got were just experiences. We rewarded people for like taking photos of the sun rising in the morning. We rewarded people for sort of sharing their life experiences, because life is not about the things we buy, it's the things we buy so we have a better experience. And so we started playing around. It was early days and playing around with all those things. But I think what everyone says is it's not about a free 11th taco.
Well, you all are getting ready to meet with a group of operators, so I will let you prepare for that and freshen up. But just one last question. What are you most excited about looking forward in the restaurant business? Zach, let's start with you. I see you nodding.
We're in a new era, and I'm actually really excited about this new era. What comes after, and Meredith's book is really great at this in charting where things have gone and where they're coming. What comes after this era where digital has become a key element of every restaurant is that data and personalization becomes far easier because you know more about your guests. You're not guessing. We've seen this in other parts of hospitality with travel. We've seen this with e-commerce brands, and we are going to see this with restaurants where it's not just about the quality of your food, service, and location. Now it's about, do you deeply understand your guest through data, and are you using that to differentiate? That's actually really exciting. It's hard, it's a new skill to build, but it's a really exciting era for restaurants to come.
And Meredith, would you hold up your book once more and say what you are most excited about?
Most excited about. I think there is going to be someone who combines all of the elements that are here in the book into what is the next category killer, right? So we had QSR, we had casual dining, we had fast casual. Each of those in successive waves took over the restaurant industry. And someone is going to figure out how to combine all of this e-commerce, consumer data stuff, electrification of kitchens, ghost kitchens, delivery off-premise, new cooking methods, direct-to-consumer brands. Someone's going to take all of those ingredients and mix them together in an amazing way that becomes the next category killer.
And Greg, would you hold up red and tell us what you're most excited about?
Look, I think as what both Meredith and Zach said is disruption is a wonderful thing. And when disruption occurs naturally, rather than have to be forced, the big guys have to defend themselves like they've never defended before. And the small and medium-sized guys have a chance to disrupt the big guys. So to me, it's just such an exciting time because everyone's going to have to really get their act together. They're going to have to be much better at marketing. They're going to have to be brilliant at digital. They're going to have to be brilliant at everything because otherwise the guys that are big today won't exist. And the guys that are small and medium now have a fighting chance, which I don't think they had 20 years ago.
Well, all three of you are brilliant at everything. I thank you so much for your time. And if you'd like to add anything, feel free.
No, it's great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron.